I thought we'd answer the question that is often asked, why meditate? These are the sorts of questions I get asked, of course, all the time. Sometimes by members of my family, why meditate? One of the funniest was from one of my nephews who said, why meditate? Isn't that for weird people? I'm not sure what the right answer to that was, but if anybody has got the right answer, please tell me what it is. There are 3 levels, actually, that we could look at this question. So let's start from the bottom of 3 levels. And by bottom, I don't mean least important, but it's like the basement. And it's what brings many people into what we are doing here, which is, if you like, how beneficial it is for physical and mental health, which of course is important for all of us. And we experience our anxiety, our disquiet about the world through our bodily responses and through our mental turmoil, anxiety, worry, which we call stress. So everybody talks about stress without really thinking what it is. It's important to understand and to accept that people come into meditation because it has benefits for physical and mental health. I sometimes talk to people who are here because they have tinnitus, which surprised me at first, but then I thought, well, why not? Maybe it will help some way. Quite a lot of people have anxiety, depression, all kinds of things. So it's quite specific. And there are health issues around raised blood pressure, pain, physical pain. All of those things are to be welcomed as a picture of the human condition for which meditation definitely helps. It doesn't eliminate most of those things, or it might occasionally eliminate, but on the whole what it does is to attenuate, which means to soften that range of issues for us. Stage 2 is moving on from that, perhaps, or building on that, meditation and the whole meditational path, because then you realize that meditation is more than doing 1 or 2 exercises. It actually fits into a broader context, which requires, if you like, some life adjustments. So the second level you might call meditation for life. It's about who I am as a person, what kind of person I am, whether I am a wise or compassionate person. You begin to look back on your life and understand where you might have not made the wisest decisions, a phase we all go through and which we learn from. As I say, broadening it as being more about my adjusting my conception of myself and perhaps trying to be happier and more peaceful in my life as a whole. So then that affects everything else. So now it's becoming more coherent, bringing everything together, integrating, synthesizing everything, which is a good place to be. Of course, some of us suffer trauma in life, and that will cause one to rethink the direction of one's life, one's values, what's important in life. So if you've had a serious road accident, or you've lost somebody that you love, or you're facing possible death from an illness, these are all traumatic things which suddenly one has to, seize life's options a little bit more clearly and maybe wonder what this life could be about. So this is now you're moving into the second level and beginning to think perhaps about the third level. The third level, I don't know what to call this. Any word you come up with is not really very adequate. One is to call it the spiritual level, which is, an English word tied up, of course, with the idea of spirit. Another word is existential, which sounds very philosophical or academic. I prefer it in a way if one just remembers that now what we're talking about is our existence, what it is to be here at all. So this is kind of a deep question of a philosophical nature, if you like. So this is the third floor. And of course, this is why the Buddha is remembered. He's remembered not for having an answer to tinnitus or whatever. I'm not mocking that, it could be a serious condition. But he's remembered because of his answer to certain existential questions. And by that we mean, is there something after death? Why am I here at all? Why am I me as opposed to anybody else? Why is there so much general sort of suffering in the world. All these very big questions, if you like, about the meaning of life, we could call them spiritual or existential questions. And when the Buddha says many times the only thing that he is concerned with, has applied his mind to and his life to, is human suffering, that is what he means. He is talking about ordinary suffering of, say, pain or loss or grief. He is talking about that, but he's not just talking about that. He's talking about our anxiety at being here at all, just existing. What could that possibly mean? Why is it the way that it is? Could it be any other way? Why am I here now? Why am I me? Which is a very strange question. But if I'd born in a different place, with a different language at a different time, would I still be me, or would I be somebody else? The mind goes into a bit of a spin. So those sorts of questions that turn the mind into a spin, put a spin in the mind, what we call existential questions. And there is suffering that goes with that, a kind of anxiety as not knowing whether life has some intrinsic meaning, or whether I'm supposed to put the meaning into it, or am I supposed to just copy what other people are doing and that's where the meaning is, or what? It's a kind of a bewilderment. And sometimes the spiritual or existential suffering hits you very hard when you've lost somebody that's very close to you, or if you lose your own child, which is terrible, or you're facing death. It's a strange thing that we human beings can go through 40, 50 years of life, and then one day we're told, you might die in the next few weeks or the next few months. Suddenly everything changes, and life could, for example, start to seem extremely precious. Fear now dominates your life. All sorts of adjustments have to be made in your relationship with other people, wondering what the meaning of your life has been, etc. So you're then parachuted into existential suffering by, well, to use a simple word, by fear and bewilderment. Bewilderment is confusion, just not knowing where to turn. Try this, try that, try this. Don't seem to find any foundation, any ground, any rock for us to hold on to and give a clear direction. So it is that existential suffering that the Buddha was primarily aiming at, but he knows very well that in dealing with that issue, he's also dealing with the second floor issue of life and relationships and so on, and also with the ground floor of our everyday, toothache or whatever it is that pops up. I think you can see that in a sense, it's a kind of a one-way street there, because from your toothache, you're not likely to get into existential questions, quite frankly. You'll just go to the dentist, right? On the other hand, from the top down, everything is resolved. Because if you have a deeper spiritual wisdom or existential wisdom and understanding, that then cascades down through all three floors. So you become more accepting, for example, about all kinds of things going on in life, and also see how much of it is due to your own stance on life, or your reactions, or your misunderstanding yourself, or not being able to understand others because you haven't understood yourself first. So, getting to understand the Buddha's existential concerns will cascade down through the whole structure and movement of your life. I think, if we're trying to make this teaching accessible in our society now with all the troubles that we have, then it's got to be made accessible to ordinary people with their ordinary first floor issues. There are those teachers which, jump in straight from the top and will make it very abstract and say things which one doesn't understand, and it doesn't have an immediate appeal except for very few people. So you have monasteries with only 3 monks in it, and you wonder, well, it's very nice and I wouldn't kick it, and no doubt you're in a good place. What about all the others outside the monastery? Have you forgotten them? We're still suffering out here. So, we need to communicate and recreate a lot of things that we've actually lost, such as community, self-understanding, which cascades down to the way, for example, we care or don't care about the elderly. to give one example. There are a lot of things that we've lost and left behind because we have lost that wider framework and we are bewildered and don't know where else to turn. Perhaps the Buddha's teaching has got something to offer because it's coming from a different place and it works in a different way, but there's considerable overlap actually between, say, the teachings of Jesus and the teachings of Buddha. Very, very close overlap at certain points. And it's just possible that one could throw light on the other. So let's come back to this three tiers idea then. That, first of all, if you have a particular issue which is causing you unhappiness or suffering, such as anxiety, insomnia, obsessive-compulsive disorder. Your psychologists have got wonderful pathologies for everything. Even when it's common sense, they'd rather put it in pathological language. And there are ways of addressing this through certain meditational techniques, such as mindfulness or concentration. However, I don't know why it is that so many mindfulness teachers don't notice that they've taken this out of context. That mindfulness actually and concentration belong in an eightfold coherent approach to life and existential questions. So how many mindfulness teachers are also talking about right speech or right action or right livelihood? Then there's right effort. What does right understanding mean? What is this understanding? Is anyone interested in it? Because that's where we get deeper into the Buddha's existential teachings, at which new concepts maybe that you are not familiar with will come into play. And, we can talk about clinging to our conception of what I am, clinging to the idea that I am my body. These get deeper teachings. Teachings about the network of conditions which give a rise to my sense of self or sense of the world, which is called dependent origination. And nirvana, what does that mean? Is there a place called nirvana? Is it the same as the Christian concept of heaven? Not quite. When we teach mindfulness, are we interested in any of those things, or we've just done what we always do in the Western world? Take something from some other culture, package it and sell it. I think that's a bit of a shame. I think we should snap out of this sort of approach to things, that everything is a commodity. Everything, that shopping is somehow our new religion. We should look at things for their own worth and whether they're actually bringing some real, deeper, long-lasting meaning into my life and into community building and cooperation and respect for nature, actually, because we've done so much damage. Why come to New Buddha Way? Why do meditation? In other words, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? It's a really important question. What are any of us looking for? There are 7 billion of us on this tiny little speck in the universe. Where are we going? Are we just facing extinction? If we are facing extinction, does it have any meaning being here? How do we make sense of it all? It's very big questions, but we don't often ask them, do we? They used to put these blinkers on horses when they used to go down the street in the 19th century. To keep them just following the one thing that the rider is telling them to do. Go shopping. Oh, okay. Oh, not left. Oh, not right. Just go shopping. Plod, 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 plod. Clippity-clop, clippity-clop. Shopping, shopping, shopping. Take the blinkers off. Oh my gosh, look at this. Look at this world. Look at this planet. Look at this universe. There are more stars in the sky than there are grains of sand on all the beaches on this planet. That's a fact. Isn't that astounding? What could it all mean? What is the place of humanity in all of this? What is your place? Are you just going to live a while, do some shopping and die? Oh my gosh, we've got to laugh at ourselves, haven't we?